Yo. What's up, guys? It's Road here, back again with another video. I'm going to be talking about my D&D world. Basically the stuff that I've made over the course of the past 5 years. And as I was working on this, right, I was recording some of these videos before, and I just realized it started to get boring, just me talking about all these different things, and there was just nothing like interesting that I felt that I was bringing out. I felt like it needed something, and I realized at the end of the day that a visual representation of the whole thing probably would be the best way to kind of showcase it. So I'm gonna be keeping it pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Little by little, I'll share more information of my world with more videos. But right now, we're gonna be talking about Genji, which is this continent that is set currently. It's my current campaign. God dang. It is my current campaign, and it's set in Genji, the continent, which is very Asian themed, full of samurais, ninjas, spiritual abilities, sages, a lot of Shinto gods, as well as some other deities kind of brought in from the East Asian side of things. So I'm gonna be kind of giving you a bit of a geography, a bit of history. I'm gonna kind of try to keep it fun. We'll see how it goes. All right, so let's do it. Little Genji. Wow, that's horrible. You gotta make it sound nice. Oh my god. It could be worse. That could be worse. Alright, so what we got in Genji, right? So Genji is one of the continents that got split apart on my world called Efstan. Not the most... Oh god, it's horrible. So not the most interesting name, but basically this world in Efstan was just full of war about 20,000 years ago, and there was a mage called Firen who cast this incredibly powerful spell and caused the continents to essentially split apart, break apart, and move in different parts of the world. And Genji is one of the continents, and this is why the culture here is very specific. And magic did not come here on this continent, so it's one of those things where they had to utilize on a different kind of a power scale, and for them, it was all spirit, it was all deep within. So this right here is a big hand. That's what I call the big hand. It's meant to look like a dragon claws. You can see it. Look at these spikes. Yeah. All right, so this is the Storm Islands. Basically, what I had on the world way before was this massive dragon. This massive dragon was utilized. Essentially, this child of Tiamat, which is kind of a prototype they made. It was a long time ago, and it was essentially they were working on making a monster that could take on essentially Bahamut and Tiamat, something that they could kind of engineer. And this is kind of the time period which is basically considered to be the Dark Ages. This is where a lot of dark practices were created just to kind of like push past the limits of gods and other powerful entities that used to exist out there. It became much more of a kind of the all different races wanted to just kind of push themselves into going beyond, basically, in a way. This all started with one pure-blooded elf that broke away from this organization called the Second Order, and essentially caused this rebellion. And I'll get to the orders later. That's like a multi-universal scale thing. Too far ahead. So anyways, there was a massive dragon. They were working on it, and its body was essentially decimated and broken apart as Firen had cast that spell. And essentially, its body was so powerful and so massive that parts of it were flung all across the world, and parts of its body essentially became kind of like this exoskeleton that became an island. So that's that. So we got the Storm Island right here. It's bad shit here. It's bad, like, so just a big bad juju vibes right there. Storm Island's pretty bad place. So you got things like you got the big fishies. And what I basically mean by big fishies is essentially, the classic Cthulhu style mind flayers. Why do I call them fishies? Because they got squid faces. I mean, you got some of these dudes chilling there. You got some shadow creatures. Let me go. Yeah. Wow, that is so long. That's way longer than I thought it would be. Alright, anyways. So the shadow creatures, basically, you know, you got these dudes who are like... I got this, don't worry. There we go. Come on, circle it. What the heck was that? I don't... That was a big neck. Oh wait, what am I trying to make here? Oh, I'm making a shadow dude, right. I'm just making a head for the shadow dude, that's why. So that'd be that, and then boom, boom, and boom, boom. And then it's got, you know, body, basically. Look at that. And let's not worry about this messed up, you know, elbow. We're not gonna worry about that. And then we just... Yeah. And there we go. So, there we go. We got some shadow creatures. You know what they do? They go up in shadows and then they kill you. Not good dudes. Not good dudes. And then you also have something beneath called the Beneath. And basically what that is this individual who, let's just say, for the sake of wanting to escape the island, did some crazy spells and essentially broke apart his body and instead created this massive kind of a mist that surrounds the entirety of the island in this like dark kind of like a area, like a dark big island. Doom. Big bad. But essentially, it's his leftover remaining part of his body is actually deep underwater. So if you want to kill him, you have to go down there. So it's also there, and it's basically trying to take over your mind, and you know, do the same old bad stuff. And then what else we got here? We also have some people called the Reapers, but specifically the Shades. That's what they were called, yeah. I know the shadow creatures sound similar. They are in a way. Basically, so the Reapers, going into the story of Genji, and so I can talk about this, basically Genji's leader, the Emperor, currently, wanted to make a powerful force, essentially these super soldiers that could take on almost anybody. And there were these specific children that were picked up with very unique skill sets that were essentially trained as very young kids, and they were made into Reapers. Well, one of the Reapers was a cute, sweet little girl that is that is not drawn well. This sweet girl called Shay, who is one of the Reapers, one called the Violet Reaper. There's actually two of them. They're brother and sister, but Shay has this very powerful psionic ability that she can't control, which allows her to essentially create things from just her will alone. She's a reality warper. Makes her pretty scary. And she would have nightmares, and she would create a lot of these monsters that exist all year. She actually made them. She made them because she just had nightmares, and her power was so out of control that they would always have to keep her and make sure she was sleeping the whole time. So the way they basically set that up was, you know, this was essentially the Storm Isles were meant to be a training facility for the Reapers, but that didn't work out, and Shay would lost control. Monsters came out. The Reapers had to be moved somewhere else, but this place remained. And so all of these monsters that you're seeing, they're actually variations of what the real D&D monsters are like, and kind of messed with, changed, turned into some other stuff. And she also made essentially versions of her fellow Reapers, which kind of considered to be siblings, even though they're not all related by blood. They're basically considered siblings, and they all have, she basically created versions of them that were kind of monstrous because, again, she had nightmares, and the ones that really scared her were the ones that became like this. I'll probably do a video about Reapers at some different point, but right now it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it too much in terms of knowing all of that. Main thing to really think about is, yeah, Storm Islands, bad place. This was meant to be, so I don't really have a level cap in my D&D game, but let's just say, generally speaking, to me, level 20 is considered to be like top 10% of the people, like strongest of the strongest. So basically it'd be at least that to come here, or you're fucked. So we got the Storm Islands, which is basically the little cute little hand of, essentially it's like a foot of a dragon that kind of calcified over thousands of years and became something. Then you have, oh god, come on. There we go. Oh, baby girl. Yeah. Oh, that looks really bad, actually. That's okay. I could. There we go. I'll take it. So, this is another big landmass. This right here in the center is where a little emperor dude lives. And he's like, I want power. I want all the control. And then, you know, on the top side, there's like right here, there's some mountains where you got a warlord. And then you got basically this entire area, which also has another warlord. And then you got this area right here that's got another warlord. But there used to be, all of this area used to belong. All of this used to belong to another warlord, but he gone. So he dead. And then there is all the way out here in this little corner, this is the warlord. And then all of this is basically the emperor's territory, right? And there's actually other lands as well. And if you're kind of putting it all together now, hopefully it makes sense that there seems to be regions that are controlled by warlords. This was not actually what I was trying to make. Whoops. One more time. So we got another land here. Yeah, there we go. And about half of it belonged to one warlord, half of it belonged to another warlord, and then there was essentially looks like a little poo. Don't worry about it. And there is another one here. Another one here. Oh god, come on. So, when you look at it all, right, you see all these W's. It basically means that there's a bunch of warlords. The idea is that back in the day, like way back, so if you look at the timeline, 20,000 years ago, I had stuff before 20,000 years ago as well, but this is called 20,000 AF. 20,000 AF basically means after fire. So 20,000 years is how long this place has basically existed, Genji, right? And back then, you know, over the course of all of those years, there were hundreds of clans, you know, hundreds of different warlords and things like that. And there'd just be constant war, you know, you would take a little bit of land, another guy would take another bit, and then another one. Family feuds lasted for centuries, thousands of years even sometimes. Religion was also very different. Everything was, you know, full of conflict until about 20 years ago when this boy right here, the Big E himself, his name is Homebrew. Homebrew came in and he was like, bro, I'm about to change this game. He came in with two people, so it was him and it was like two other dudes. There was this dude called Amen and this dude called Aragon. Now Aragon, I mean, I know it's coming straight from Lord of the Rings. Listen, I was not that creative when I made this, okay? In terms of names. So Amen is from a continent called Gaza. Think of it like Egyptian stuff. And then Aragon is from Tamriel. Again, I borrowed that from Elder Scrolls, the name, but it's essentially the classic fantasy medieval continent with different elves and warriors, and magic exists a lot there. Magic exists a lot in Amen's territory as well. So they came in with Homebrew, and essentially Homebrew, they were gonna assist Homebrew in putting down most of the warlords and kind of bringing peace and unity to the whole country. That's kind of that's pretty much occurred 20 years ago, since the game began. A lot of warlords died. There were actually about 100 or so warlords before the Emperor came in, and then there were only about 10, maybe 11 warlords left, which basically shows that a lot of them got perished, but their lands got taken over by the other warlords, and for the sake of peace, you know, they decided to bend the knee to the Emperor, even though they still have their own territories. The Emperor ultimately is the one who rules over Genji. Well, Thing was, how did this dude do it? Homer was actually from another clan of warlords way back, more than 20 years ago. 30 or so years ago, he was um, the young teen who was going to become the leader of the clan when his father died, and his clan was massacred by war, and so he bounced out. And when he bounced out, he was like, "I'm gonna fucking avenge this. This is bullshit. Genji sucks." And he had this like big frowny face. Wait, that was not done right. There we go. He was upset. So he went out. He left the land with his 2 children, who were the surviving members of the Homura clan, basically. So this is rough. His actual name is Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi is his full name. But call him Homura for now. And my boy Hideyoshi left with his kids, was not happy about how things went down, and instead looked for ways to, first of all, make money to survive. You gotta get that bling bling. But he also made allies, and he made allies with some shady people. I'm talking about like, the classic eyes, nose, smile, like yeah, you want this right here, this guy right here. I'm gonna call him Big B for now. You'll learn about him soon enough. But let's just say he's not a good guy. But Big B himself gave him an option. He basically said, "All right, man, you want to go back? You want to take over? I'm gonna give you what you want. All right. And in return, you're gonna give me access to your land and your resources whenever I want to. For the things that I want to do." And Hideyoshi at this point was like, "Psh, okay." He didn't care. He was like, "Whatever, man. If you could help me out, then fine." And so my boy here, Big B, well, let's just say he has a lot of reach. He can do things that other people can't. He has connections beyond even the world, actually, and even in different dimensions. And so this dude right here was like, "All right, I'm gonna share with you a spell that nobody else knows about, where you can create an army." I'm making it right now. You can create an army that does not die. An army that, no matter how much they get decimated, it doesn't even matter. And they had square pants. So yeah, literally, it was just SpongeBob. They just made SpongeBob. No, so they were essentially called the Jade Warriors. And they had, that is a sword, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, so the Jade Golems is what they were called. And they essentially were these warriors whose soul gets entrapped into this jade statue, and even if you destroy the statue, it will just reconstruct itself. Their soul's forever trapped. They don't have any free will or anything like that, but they will only follow commands of the one who made them, which would be Hideyoshi right here. So it was like, I'm gonna show you how to do this. And over the course of like 5 years, many unfortunate people got killed and made into these Jade Golems. And then Big B was like, "Go back, and take over." Thing was, Hideyoshi was a smart guy himself, and he didn't want to just take over by just power. And he also was smart enough to realize that, hey, if I come up with this crazy army that can never die, eventually there's going to be questions asked of how I got them and a lot of those type of things. So he was like, you know what? It's time to make some other allies that could help out. So he went to 2 different lands that I spoke about before, and he got help there. He basically said that, hey, listen, Genji has been constantly fighting each other, and we've not, gone out into the world and had trade and connections with people. You know what? This needs to change. So he was like, how about you guys help me out doing this? And then once Genji's united and peaceful, then, I can begin trade with your lands, and boom, you basically brought wealth to your world, to your country and to mine. So these 2 were like, you know what? Pretty good idea. pretty good idea. They have unique personalities of their own, but that would be a video for the warlords, talking about the warlords. But so they also provided weaponry and magic and stuff like that to the emperor, but they didn't directly fight because, again, you know, they didn't understand the customs, the culture. They didn't want to push too much. You know, they were like, listen, we're gonna provide you with resources, but we're not trying to like kill a bunch of people that we don't even know. So it was like, no, don't worry about that. I got that. And he took his Jade Warriors, his Jade gang, and he marched across. He marched right into the land of Genji that I showed you before, right? And so he marched across, and you know, there were battles. There were battles that nobody was happy about, you know, and a lot of people died. I'm just making dudes right now just to showcase the battle. So a lot of people died, you know, and a lot of warlords died, and the warlords that bend the knee, you know, they were given the lands of the warlords that perished, and eventually it was a brutal about a year of war. That's how fast they got brought down, because you just couldn't do anything against that overwhelming force, right? These Jade Golems were not dying. So I'm gonna make this little dragon, yeah. So after he took over, right, he became the emperor. The warlords that bent the knee to him, he was like, all right, since you guys made a smart move, we're gonna eyeball, yeah, boy, and a little tongue, and then like make it split because of the flames. Bleh. Okay, so he essentially gave them all a piece of land and let them have it, but just they have to be loyal to him. And they were like, cool, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do. Well, here's the thing. People think it's peace, but it's actually not. It was built on strong foundations, if you know what I mean. You know, and my boy Hideyoshi made a deal with the devil, literally, because Big B is a demon who ultimately has his own goals, and he's like, I'll give you this, but again, you got to give me access to the entire land. I'm gonna make a really small version of it. Entire land of Genji, you know, this is all mine now. And not that, you know, you can still rule over it, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna take the land from you, but I want all the access I need. And this guy really didn't have much of a choice, at least in the beginning, because Hideyoshi was like, you know, the army that he made may turn on him because, again, the Big B might know something that he doesn't know. So he's like, fine, you can begin your act, you know, you can kind of work on stuff in my world. And that's kind of what Big B wanted to do. He needed resources, he needed people, he needed stuff like that, because guess what? The Reaper program where you made the super soldiers that I talked to you about earlier that the Emperor wanted, that was actually what Big B wanted. So along with that, many people were, you know, over the course of the next 20 years of the Emperor's reign, there were people that started disappearing in the cities, in the villages. These people were missing. There were some mysterious deaths of certain leaders. Certain warlords perished, and there's not a good understanding as to why, except that they were called traitors, quote unquote, and just a lot of mystery and shade going on. And then at the same time, the Emperor has his own plans that, you know, he is also very ambitious, and he doesn't really want to just follow what Big B wants. So he's got his own plans going. And so the campaign, I'm going to make this new. So the Eastern campaign is what I called it, or the Genji campaign, is all about the players, these ragtag group of homies who showed up on this island that was filled with these monsters, which they learned later are demons, and they learn about this possible demon invasion that's coming. And so they come to the capital city because they met someone very capable who has a lot of, who basically hunts demons and exorcists. And he basically said, like, this is crazy. we need to go here, speak with the emperor, you know, who essentially has, you know, the control and the authority here, and warn him about what's coming, and, you know, work together and all that stuff. And so the players go there thinking that, and then, you know, the emperor, of course, as we know, has already made deals with Big B. He already has plans for it, but the thing is, the emperor wants his own cut. He wants to do it his own way, so he's not really with Big B anymore. He's got his own plans, but the plans of neither one of these is necessarily good for all of these people right here, all my player characters. And all of this was a mystery. None of this was explained, but what the players got to encounter with was all these warlords and this mysterious assassination that was done on the emperor the very day they came, which they later learned was some sort of a ruse, because the one that killed them was a man named Ren, called the Black Reaper, from the Reaper Project. He had gone missing apparently, but he had shown up, kills the emperor, and leaves. He goes up in the capital and does it. That's how powerful this dude is. But the players later learned that it wasn't him. It was a plan made by Hideyoshi himself to pit everybody against the Reapers. But because Hideyoshi's got his own little strategy going on, and that is the crux of the current part of the last part of the campaign, where we got the Emperor Hideyoshi got his own army that he's using to take over Genji again. You got Ren, who I can't talk about as much because the Reapers is his own big story, but let's just say he's also become a bad guy. Then you also got another Reaper that has shown up called Gabriel, who also is a bad guy. And you also have the warlords who are struggling because there was a lot of infighting going on because they thought there was a traitor, but it turns out the traitor was the Emperor himself. So you got a bunch of dookie going on, and that is my campaign. And that's my setting currently for the Eastern campaign, Genji specifically. I have 5 other continents that I'm gonna probably go into as well, but this is kind of a more of a geographical / historical kind of tale of this land, but specifically historical in the sense of that I'm talking about the campaign and how the campaign began. The history before that goes much further, and there's a lot more stuff, but that'll be for next time. Right now, this is where I'm playing. I'm playing on Genji with my friends. It's a good time, and I'm thinking of 2 to 4 different videos from here that I can branch out to. One is talking about the Reapers that explained the Reaper Project. I can talk about Big B and who he is and what's going on with that. I can also talk about kind of what occurred before the Emperor and what was the 20,000 years like for Genji, or how did it develop, because all of these people utilize spirit. Essentially, that is this internal form of ki, Dragon Ball style energy that you utilize, and there's 5 different elements that they can use, and they use that to do some crazy stuff. So pretty powerful. They don't really use magic, but they got their own thing going on. And so there, I can talk about that. And what was the last thing I could talk about? The Reapers. I can also talk about the warlords. Yeah, I haven't gotten to talk about the warlords. I can explain who they are a little bit, but the warlords are also very integral and vital to this current campaign. So I can also talk about them. So those are going to be my next probably 4 videos in terms of D&D, but this was my first one. Just kind of giving you a setting of what I'm currently playing at. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys had a good time. I hope you guys like this visual representation of everything, because again, I get it. Like, I totally get how boring it can be if I just keep talking about it, and sometimes having that visual representation just kind of gives it that little edge. So yeah, take it easy. I'll see you next time.